Hey football fans, welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Legends. We're still working our way through a review of the Hall of Fame class of 1966 with today's spotlight on Steve Owen. Here's another Hall of Fame player from the past that I am discovering for the first time. So stick around and level up your football IQ as we delve into the rich history of pro football. Okay, today we're going to be talking about Steve Owen. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame as a class of 1966. He was inducted as a head coach and a tackle. He was in the NFL for 30 seasons. As a coach, he won 8 division titles and 2 NFL titles and had a record of 155 to 108 and 17. So let's take a look and see what his bio says here. Okay, to call Steve Owen a pioneer is not an overstatement. The sturdy tackle and head coach was born in Oklahoma before it was a state. It was still a territory in 1898. From Little Phillips, a small Oklahoma college, Steve began his pro football career in 1924 with the Kansas City Blues, which were later the Cowboys, a traveling team that played all their games on the road. After a brief stay with the Cleveland Bulldogs, he was sold to the New York Giants in 1926 for $500. Owen played 7 seasons with the Giants from 1926 to 1931 and also 1933. In 1930, he was both a player and the team's co-coach. Although he continued to play, he was named the sole head coach in 1931. Then in 1933, he stopped playing and devoted all of his efforts to coaching. Owen and the Mara family, who owned the Giants, never had a contract. He coached 24 seasons from 1930 to 1953 on just a handshake. Stout Steve Owen believed in basic fundamental football, and he was successful with his basic style. His real strength was in coaching defense. And under his tutelage, the Giants played in 8 of the first 14 championship games of the National Football League. The team's victory in the 1934 Sneakers game is well documented as he coached the Giants to another title in 1938. He originated the umbrella defense. The secondary was likened to an umbrella with 4 deep defensive backs representing the umbrella's spokes. The spokes include future Hall of Famers Inland Tunnel and Tom Landry. He successfully used this defense to contain the powerful pass-oriented Cleveland Browns when they joined the NFL in 1950. Owen left the Giants following the 1953 season, but before he did, he developed some of the greatest players and toughest teams in history. His 155 career victories attest to his success. Okay, let's see what kind of information I can dig up in my research here. Steve Owen was born in the Oklahoma Territory, but he did have a dream of becoming a jockey. His 5'11", 230-pound frame betrayed his dream, and he earned the nickname Stout Steve. He worked on a cattle ranch, attended Phillips University in 1917 and 1918, and supplemented his income as a professional wrestler under the pseudonym of Jack O'Brien to preserve his amateur status. He served in the U.S. Army Training Corps in World War I, returned to coach at Phillips for a year, and then went to work in the oil fields of the Southwest. He broke into pro football in 1924 for the Kansas City Cowboys, and then the Cleveland Bulldogs in 1925. He was sold to the New York Giants in 1926, joining his brother Bill. He was a team captain in 1927 and displayed his leadership skills during the season as the team outscored opponents 197-20 with a record of 11-1-1 and ended up winning the NFL title. In 1930, he became the co-player coach of the Giants for the final 2 games, winning both. He would coach the Giants for the next 23 years on a handshake. He would coach the team to 2 NFL championships in 1934 and 1938. All right, so Steve Owen, here's a player, coach, that I had never heard of, and obvious reasons. You know, he was playing around 1920s, which was well before my time. Pretty cool to hear about some of these things, you know, where he came to the Giants, played with them for several seasons, and then went on to become their coach on just a handshake for the next 24 seasons. So that's really incredible in itself. That he guided the Giants to play in 8 of the first 14 championship games of the NFL League is really, really awesome. And you know, with players like Inland Tunnel and Tom Landry. I mean, Tom Landry, a lot of respect for Tom. He was one of the greatest coaches of his era as well. So really cool to hear about these guys. So really cool to learn about some of these players like Steve Owen that really paved the way for later players and coaches alike. So that is our spotlight on Steve Owen. I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, thanks for joining me for today's trip into the past to learn about Steve Owen, one member of the class of 1966 Hall of Famers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.